Has there been any aspect of Marty Cagan's views, particularly following his appearance on Lenny's podcast, with which you find yourself in disagreement? Okay. Everyone knows who Marty Cagan wrote Inspired and Empowered and Now Transformed. I'm hosting him. He's a friend of mine. The way I view our books as being complementary is his book is more about principles and philosophies. I also have concepts and philosophies, but really a how-to guide, right? That's why it's called the playbook. That's my goal. So I think there's tons of alignment. Now, to get it specifically in Lenny's podcast and other podcasts, what's going on is sometimes people view what Marty says is like, oh my gosh, that is a pipe dream. What you are describing, the way product managers work and how they operate and product teams and orgs work, I've never seen that. And that feels and seems so far from the way my feature factory is working that I don't even know if that's possible. That's some of the commentary that you hear from folks, which is, his job, he's kind of trying to espouse best practices and what one should do and aspire to do. And sometimes the gap between what someone's living and experiencing on their job and that ideal is so big that it gets people to be discouraged and they start questioning, is it achievable, right? So that's the main kind of nature of this. And it's interesting with that podcast coming out, episode coming out, I would recommend you all check it and watch it. And with Transform coming out, there's more and more discussion about this. I'm a realist. Like I've worked hands-on. I've been like an interim VP of product for so many companies. I have points of view about best practices, but I am very practical and pragmatic. When I go into a company, I meet them where they're at. And I know, because I do these workshops, I know the challenges that people face. One other thing I should have said on the last question about what if you're in a non-product oriented company, which is related to this question. At some point, you may just need to go to a different company. I'm not saying you shouldn't fight the good fight. And I've been there in the trenches before I was a consultant as a product manager, trying to fight the good fight, trying to get the dev team to do things the right way, trying to get stakeholders to understand, right? It can be a lot to rest on your shoulders. I think that's the other specific criticism or critique that comes up is Marty advocates or recommends that if your organization is like that, that you try to change it and convert it, right? Now, if you're a CPO, your ability to influence and change the org might be higher or stronger than if you're just a PM or an APM or a senior PM, right? If you're a PM in a bigger company, I think it's impractical, really, realistically, that you're going to be able to like steer, just kind of like steering the Titanic. You're going to be able to change the course of that whole thing, right? So that's, I think, the part of it that maybe there's a little bit of legitimacy to that. But I think Marty, if you talk to him about it like that, he's just saying, hey, you should try. And if you can't, then, maybe you need to go somewhere else. And I agree with that too, right? Life's too short to just be in a place where you can't practice your craft the way it should be